Welcome everybody. Sunday Sessions here with Courtenay Pollock and myself. Welcome and welcome. I'm gonna just let you take it away, Courtenay.
Okay.
You ready?
Where are we going?
We're going to the United States.
Okay then.
We're going to the US. And take it away.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the London gig was just a terrifying experience, actually, But all in all, the whole trip was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Of course, I can't take the Rolls Bentley to the United States. I mean, what would I do with it there? Nobody would know how to fix it, if anything, And of course, the cost of getting a car over there. But it was a great experience to have that, and to be in Europe and high rolling a bit. And I stayed and sold a car, and had arranged to meet with Victoria. She was going to come and join me in the United States. So this is still, I think it's mid 1972. I'm like 25 years old or something, and already, life seemed to have been going on a long time with so many great experiences, but I'm going back and re-entering the United States for the second time, since I first went there in '68. The Vietnam War is still raging, much to my chagrin, distress really, and Nixon's still in power. Oh my God! And I'm like, I don't have a lot of money or anything. I got a one-way ticket, and I'm going to enter the United States. Now, the first time I entered, I had my three-piece suit and my attaché case, and very respectable. But I was on a one-way ticket, and but I had kind of talked my way in. And on this occasion, same thing. I dressed up, just the tan velvet suit and silk shirt, and no loafers, no loafers. But I talked my way in. I said, if I need money, I'll just have it wired to me. No worries. When I want to leave, I'll just get another ticket. And they guff. They just let me in, and then of course I joined. I went back to Marin County. Went back to the old house where the ranch where Rahana and Dory and in the main house, and with me. Roger's still going back and forth and mostly spending time in Hawaii, and Rakow is developing the So What papers for his proposal to take over the Grateful Dead Enterprises. And he had taken off during the Europe '72. He wasn't on the tour. He had gone to Boston to get the loan that he needed to finance the taking over and development of the Grateful Dead according to his plan. So I start looking for a house because Victoria's going to join me, and I expect that she's going to bring Cyrus, her son, and Ardath was his nanny, and who would have cooked and cleaned and looked after the kid and all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, I found this beautiful property in Novato. It was kind of country-ish, quiet. Lovely house, 5 bedrooms, a swimming pool. It was, nice, upscale. I get a lease on this house, and so now I have a really good residence for Victoria to come back to. And Rakow calls me from Boston, and he says, well, I got the loan, and I'm coming back, and I've got the banker's daughter with me. I said, oh, I guess you really scored all round, right? And I want to just interject something here, because that reminds me. When I was in Tehran, we went to this nightclub, the only nightclub in Tehran, and it was called the Key Club. The Key Club was owned and run by this beautiful woman named Tonki. And Tonki was an associate of Victoria. And before I started up with Victoria, I had the opportunity to be with Tonki, and I decided that I wanted to be with Victoria. So that would have muddied the waters if I, we did spend some time together and had a great rapport, and that was a little scenario there. When I got back to the United States, and Rakow and I are sitting around talking, and he said, I was there. I went to Persia. And he said, yeah, I met with this fabulous woman, and we just kind of like had a little dalliance, and I have great memories of that. And yeah, he said she had this nightclub called, I said, the Key Club? This is Tonki? What are the odds?
Oh my goodness.
Right across the world in a whole different culture. Rakow had already been there and met this amazing woman, and
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. And I was like, so anyway, that was quite the cosmic coincidence. But life was full of them. I had a lot of crossovers with some of the members. Was Rock Scully, with Bobby Weir, with all kinds of people, and other women. And women. They were all. A small world. When it comes to I don't know. Anyway, so I've got David Crosby's old house. It was David Crosby's old house, and but unfortunately, it was a tragedy that happened there. He was, happily there with his wife, and she got killed on the road out front of the house in a freak accident, and and of course that was a terrible thing, and terribly hard on David. Probably really challenged his life and his life choices and stuff. I didn't know that until later, but meanwhile, it was beautiful space. So anyway, when Rakow calls and says he's on his way back, he's got the financing, he's going to do, the proposal and follow through. At this juncture, Sam Cutler was still running out of town tours, but he had an opportunity to go to Texas. One of the girls who worked in the office, she was there because she wanted to be, she liked the Grateful Dead, and but her and her brother, they were both heirs to this fortune. And then her brother got killed, in a motorcycle accident, and so it's just her, and she invited Sam over. She bought this race course, and so he invited him out to manage it and develop it and get it ready, to pursue as a business, which was a big enterprise. I mean, big money, and fabulous amount of investment in this race course. Manor Downs, lovely name, and where was that? It was name just slipped through my mind right there, so he did. He took off. He had hit a bad patch. He decided that rock and roll, and the way rock and roll treats their the people that make it work for them, wasn't something that he wanted to continue with. So anyway, a lot of changes. Rakow he makes a proposal, and it's agreed that he's going to take over a certain amount of the management, and we've got a team that Danny Rifkin was one of the original guys that used to book for the Grateful Dead, and he was still working out of the office, and Rock Scully, of course, same thing, and there's some really good guys that were really knowledgeable. McIntyre, he was great with people. He was tall, handsome, blonde. I mean, he had an aristocratic air, and he was so comfortable and fluid with talking with anybody and creating deals and stuff. So, he was a strong mover in that organization for quite a long time, and wonderful friends because he had a culture about him, and I appreciated that, and he appreciated that too, and so Raquel, I said, well, you should take the master bedroom suite if you've got this lady with you, and I don't need, I'm just a loner. I just need my working space, and we've got other bedrooms we can bring friends in, which we did, and that was rather nice. We had a lovely set of friends in the house, and still we had guest rooms for girls, for young ladies, and so anyway, this event developed with Raquel wanted to get the Grateful Dead office renovated because it was pretty beautiful old Victorian home on 5th and Lincoln in San Rafael. Have I talked about this?
We have talked about that, yeah.
Yes, and he had me restore renovate it,
yeah.
which I did. And so we did that. Meanwhile, Victoria comes over and spends some time with me, but she has to go back and deal with her divorce. She wants to be a totally free agent. Meanwhile, oh, well, this is terrible. Her husband, who's this really powerful man from one of the oldest families, he was the original heir to the Peacock throne in Persia. 2,000-year-old civilization, more, 3,000. I don't know. Anyway, and he, in an attempt to win her back or something, he comes over to Mill Valley, where it's kind of a focus of where a lot of us kind of congregate and stay. And Victoria and I actually were spending time there too. And he comes in and he books into this hotel up on the Pacific Ridge. And I guess he came in on a private plane, and I don't know what he was thinking. He was thinking that if he did LSD and he was totally cool, then he'd be able to win her back. I was like, well, being from an opium culture, he wasn't a foreigner to getting high, but there's a vast chasm between smoking some opium and taking LSD. There's absolutely no relationship at all. And he got he kind of got
Really
fucked up. He got found in the lobby of the hotel, stark naked in the middle of the night, tripped out. It's classic, really. And then they found out who he was, and they basically shipped him back on his private plane and kept it really quiet. So poor Mehdi. I mean, if you'd asked me, I would have tutored him. But so Victoria stayed around, but she had we had a wonderful romance, and it continued through most of our lives. We were always great friends, and we always had that wonderful connection. But she had kind of picked up on John McIntyre, this tall, blonde, naturally blonde, handsome, debonair kind of, he was a catch, and so she kind of went in that direction. Well, she didn't know that he didn't have relationships with women. But it was, he was just such an amazing man. It was like no judgment, nobody cared, nothing. None of us cared, of course. It wasn't a topic of conversation or anything. Courtenay, why do you not tell me that Johnny is not? He's not with women. I said, well, whose business is it? It's not, you liked him, you spent time with him. She said, oh, he's wonderful company, but I was so, I was thinking maybe an affair, I said, well, plenty of fish in the sea. So she jumped on Bobby Weir. So, which was a pretty good match, young, handsome, successful, brilliant musician, all this stuff, and which is great, and she was basically with Bobby for several years, on and off, going back and forth from Europe, and he spent longer with her than I did by far. I had her when she was younger, though. Sorry, that was really bad, but hey. But there's one of the wonderful Grateful Dead songs, we can share the women, we can share the wine, and that was the kind of the attitude then, and still really, for people that, possessions, possessiveness, jealousy, all that crap, children, people, they're free agents. They can go where they want, do what they want, nobody's got control over them. This, married piece of paper thing, all this binding together and all this religion and all this crap. Oh, I'm so down on it. So anyway, Victoria, and one of the little things that happened when Patricia and Victoria are deciding they're going to come over to the United States and be on the scene, and they said, well, we can't be Victoria and Patricia, that's just, we need some hip names. And her little son, who was two and a half at the top by then, and he just said Flying and Light, and they went, okay then. Flying and Light. So Victoria was Flying, and Patricia was Light, and it seemed appropriate somehow. It's a bit off the wall, but better than Rainbow and Tofu. So anyway, and that's how they were known on the scene. And I mean, they're exotic, beautiful girls with that wonderful culture, and the slightly French, slightly Persian accent. It's like, what's not to like?
So Ali came as well?
Ali didn't come to the United States because the turmoil started happening. The students uprising they wanted to just take over the government. It was going to be like a revolution.
Right.
And of course, the religious wallahs saw their opportunity, and of course the revolution happened. Terrible. All the great friends that there was Victoria and myself, Patricia, Ali, and all of this train of wonderful, amazing people that we kind of hung out together in Tehran, around Tehran. They had, Arabian horse ranches, they had their own planes, they had, everything. And they were like a jet set. We'd meet up with them we met up with them in Geneva, in Paris, in London, and they were all assassinated. Out of maybe 14, 15 of us, the only ones to survive it was myself, Victoria, and Patricia. Out of that circle, and all the rest were assassinated. Farhad was not. He was one of the ones that fomented revolution. He was a student, and he thought, what was he thinking? He didn't realize how good it was, and so that was terrible. Of course, I got out. Did I tell you the story when the army came out after me?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I should interject this.
Yes.
So I'm back in the country residence, early spring, the snow's thawing, and each morning I would sit under the oak tree, up on the mountainside, and visualize Victoria coming to me, all her duties disappearing, and she'd see her drive out of the city and come, and 40 minutes and up over the rise, and I'd look up and there'd be her car, and by the time I get to the bottom of she'd pull up. Oh, like magic, all my duties, everything disappear. I can come to you. I was like, okay, yeah, I got this. Anyway, this one day, she's going to be able to spend the whole day, and I said, well, let's go, go up the mountain. we go past the oak tree, and we go. I've been all the way up there, and it's really, primal and exotic. There's nothing up there but rocks. But if you go high enough, you get to this ridge, and that was when I followed the cat up, the big cat. And anyway, so we go all the way up there. We've got a little picnic or something, and we take out Steve, of course. And we're having this idyllic hike up the mountain, and conversation and lovemaking and all that stuff. And then from where we were, you could still see the Valley Road. It's way down there, and all these army trucks pull up. And I said, "What's going on?" She said, "Oh, Courtenay, I think they're here for you." And I said, "What do you mean?" "Here for me." He said, "Oh, I think maybe Mehdi, he come after me. He said somebody is taking me away from him." That's true. So all these soldiers get out fully armed. They border the whole. There's 2-3 truckloads, probably 40 or 60 of them. And the head of the platoon, whatever it is, he starts up the mountain, and he's looking, and he's got binoculars, and he's like this, and we're sitting up here, and he said, "Oh," I said, "I don't want to go down there." She said, "No, let him come to us." It's a hell of a long way up the mountain. The sun's beating down, even though it's frigid in the sun, it's still, the sun's burning hot. And he's coming, gets up to as far as the oak tree, which is about a third of the way up. And he's carrying, his big weapon, and probably AK-47s. And and all these soldier boys, they're all like, fuck. Sorry. Anyway, and she says, "Okay." She said, "Don't worry, Courtenay, I talked to him." And it gets closer. He's like, "Come on down," in Farsi or whatever. And we make him walk all the way up to us, and we're in our little, vibe here. He comes in, he just sits on a rock, and he's like, and the vibe, it's just tranquil. And he just, like, his eyes are getting big, he's in the vibe, and nobody says anything. And then she addresses him, in Farsi, and "I'm sorry to make you come all this way, but it's beautiful up here. We're having a wonderful meditation, and nothing is wrong. I'm here of my own free will. This is our guest here in Persia, in Tehran, friends of the Shah." And just talks him down, and he insists we go down, to the road, and he wants to take me away. And she says, "No, we come to the oak tree, we sit there, we're safe there. We're just, the house is not so far. It's 5 minutes down down the hill." And eventually they all, board up and go, and leave. That was pretty scary.
No doubt.
Yeah, when
job for Courtenay.
I said, "Well done, Victoria." She said, "Whew, that could have been bad." Anyway, that was just a little aside. Where was I? And so anyway, we're in this beautiful house. Rakow's taking over. Sam Cutler's left to go with to Texas, Manor Downs, and so out of town tours is packed up. Frankie's travel agency, Fly By Night Travel, packs up when Sam does, because now she's not booking all those bands that he was booking out of town tours, and so Fly By Night Travel does Flew By Night, and now Rakow is kind of in charge. A very different style. I mean, he's a brilliant man, and things are going well. I mean, Sam Cutler had advanced the band enormously, brought them really into the big time. He just knew he had a talent. He just knew how to do that. And it was the time was right. They were prime. They just had 2 great albums, and just as he came on the scene, and then the tie-dye stage and all of this explosion of attention, and things escalated really fast. And so Raquel and I sharing this big house, and Emily, the banker's daughter, is there. I mean, she wasn't there forever. She eventually left. She was a charming person, lovely girl, but it wasn't going to be a long-term anything. And so anyway, as things proceed, and part of his plan was for the Grateful Dead to start their own record company, which we did. We'd been working on the idea. He had the plans, the whole presentation, and everybody. There was a lot. Garcia had a personal album ready to come out. Keith and Donna had an album coming out. Bobby Weir had Bobby Ace coming out. The Grateful Dead had a new album coming out, and Robert Hunter, of course, songwriter, he had an album coming out also, Tales of the Great Rum Runners. Perfect. And so all these albums. So Raquel says, well, let's, you should go out as the lead promotion man for the Southeast, because the Southeast, we had to kind of abandon it after the band got busted in New Orleans, and we haven't really been back, and they're kind of mad about it. It's like they felt abandoned. So we need somebody that's like, because you're an Englishman, you have the English accent. They're not going to be, we send a northerner in there. They're going to be, they won't last. It won't make, So my mission was to talk them down, talk them around, and bring the music back. And the tour started in the High Life Stadium in Miami. And my mission, well, I had to make it up as I went along, but I would go into town and I'd find all the FM stations, and maybe the big AM, but typically FM stations, and I make appointments and do live talk shows and talk about the band coming, and of course the things that are coming along and the new albums. And I go to the big distribution centers, and we had all this free stuff, and I would create 3-dimensional displays of all of this free stuff, advertising all the albums that we're launching with our new record company. So, and that was actually a successful tour, and it was quite the adventure being on the road. It's hard being on the road. I was alone. I was just on my own and creating it as I went along. But I'd pull into a city, go to a phone booth, look up in a phone booth in the phone book, all the FM stations, the distribution centers, and get a map, and I would plot, a route, the most efficient route to visit all these places, and make my appointments appropriately, and say, okay, an hour or so between appointments, I got to get across the city, I got to do this, and typically it was a 2-day event for a big city, a lot of coverage, and both evenings, of course, I would be doing the live interviews, so-called, on radio, and preparing for the band coming to that city the next day or two. And so I was laying the promoting. So I had the whole southeast of the country. Raquel personally promoted the northeast, because that's the highest population, of course, New York and all that. My territory went as far as Philadelphia, and he had Washington D.C. and New York, and Steve had the Midwest. There were certain people that were, the west side was easy because that was like local to the Grateful Dead, where they're living, and they gigged a lot more down there, so that was pretty easy. And so that was a challenge, but it was an adventure, and it was a great learning curve. And So when I came back, we had given up the Crosby house. I can't remember if it was sold or I think it was, or we were given notice or something because we were a bunch of freaks. But we kept it very well. I was always responsible with the places I've been in. I treat them as if they're my own. So it wasn't an issue. But people are still really straight. They just but I wouldn't take any of the guff. I just like get out. You want to make a complaint, you do it formally or officially or whatever. Don't come in and rail at me because you don't like the way I look. Anyway, I had. There was a little place called. Oh, we're at 30 minutes. I'll make this a new chapter next time.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for your attention.
Thanks, guys. This is a little bit longer than normal, but we're so happy that you tuned in today, and we look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you, Heidi.
It was awesome.
Right. Mwah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh, yeah. Like and subscribe.
Ah.